Lovely folks of YouTube, Bren here. I'm kind of going off the beaten path a little bit. I got this book the other day, Green Witchcraft by Paige Vanderbeck, and I just wanted to talk about it really briefly. I don't normally buy new books unless they're about a topic very specific to something that I'd be interested in. So this is one of the very few new books that I bought recently. Obviously, being a Green Witchcraft book, I had to see what was in it. I'm not really the target audience for this book. I would count this as a beginner book, absolutely. I'm not exactly a beginner, but I do still enjoy reading beginner books, even though a lot of the information may be retreading old ground for me, just because they give me new perspectives. I like reading the author's perspective on how they practice, and a lot of the times I get ideas from that I might not have otherwise considered. So it helps me to broaden my horizons. So even though there's a lot of information here that is not new for me, there is sometimes some new ideas that are really cool. So I wanted to just kind of give what I felt were the strong points and the weak points of this book. So Paige Vanderbeck, just as a little bit of background, she runs the podcast fatfeministwitch.com, as well as the associated website. I am not normally a podcast person. I just can't listen to something without visuals. I'm very visual based, so when I get just auditory stuff, my brain tends to wander off. So podcasts are hard for me, but I do respect that she is out there, she's in the community, she's doing the thing, she's working the craft, she's a real person, a real witch, and not just somebody that has no background whatsoever in the community. So I can respect that at least. So, like I said, this is a beginner book. It is a really good beginner book. I will say that. It does have a lot of really cool things that I picked up on. There's a very wide variety of different spells she kind of touches on. There's at least one example of just about every major kind of spell you can think of. So there's like an infusion, there's instructions on making a wand and a besom, there's a candle spell, there's a bath ritual, there's a lot of different examples of different types of spell work in here. I really like her definition of magic. You can see I'm going off of my notes here. I like her definition of magic a lot. I think it's a very approachable definition, particularly for someone who is brand new to the craft. Kind of lays it out in a very clear way without being really confusing. So I do like that. I love that in all the different plants and herbs that she mentions, when she gives correspondences, she doesn't give masculine, feminine correspondences. And I'm really happy about that, because that is some antiquated, out-of-date BS that has needed to go for quite some time. So I'm really happy that she is not assigning gender to plants which are hermaphroditic. So, because that's, in case you can't tell by my tone, that's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. We don't need to be gendering our plants, okay? Gender issues in Wicca and witchcraft as it is are complex enough. We don't need to be assigning gender to our plants. So, very happy that she just didn't even mention that at all. So, here's some of the issues I have with this book. Like I said, it's a good beginner book. It's a wide book. It covers a very wide variety of topics, but it's very shallow in its coverage of those topics. It's only 169 pages. That is including the index. The print is somewhat large, as you can see here. So, I feel like there's probably a lot of room where she could have written more, but didn't. There's a lot of things that I just wish that she had elaborated on a little bit more. It's a good basic coverage, but I feel like there could have been more substance. There are some holes in the information that she gives. For example, one of the things that I actually enjoyed is when she gives correspondences for these plants, she actually gives a correspondence for the chakra that the plant works with, which is cool. You don't usually see that in a lot of books. But she doesn't give any information whatsoever on the chakras themselves, with the exception of the Earth Star chakra. She has a one-page little insert dedicated to that. And just going off of that, I hadn't even heard of that chakra. Turns out she's working with a 12 chakra system that I was completely unfamiliar with. I had to Google this information. If you're talking about it in your book, you should at least touch on it in your book and give some basic information in the book. Otherwise, you know, if people are having to resort to Google to find that information, why is that? Why are we doing that? It should be here, okay? So I felt like there were holes in her information. But yeah, that's really my biggest criticism. Is just like, I felt like there could have been more. It was what was there was very well written. I really enjoyed the way that she phrases it. I just feel like it could have been expanded on a little bit more. And I understand sometimes, and I can understand it's hard. You know, when you already know this information and you take it for granted, you don't even think about sharing that information. But if you're writing a book for a beginner, you really need to share that information. Even if it feels like you're retreading old ground for yourself, that may be something that they've never heard before, you know? Like with the 12 chakra system, the Earth Star chakra. I'd never heard of it before. I don't usually work with chakras, which is probably why. But still, like, that was a bit of information that I didn't have. And the fact that she hadn't discussed it at all, except for just that one little teeny insert, I was like, I really wish that there were more information on this, because I don't know anything about it. And to kind of leave that out is kind of a glaring omission in my book. So overall, yes, I would recommend this book. I did enjoy it. I think that what it does cover, it covers very well. However, with the caveat that I probably wouldn't recommend it as a standalone book. I would recommend it as sort of the starter to kind of get your feet wet, and then from there move on to other books. Excuse me. I'm starting to get a little... Man, those allergies, I'm telling y'all. So, yeah. It's a good starter book, but it's not the only book that I feel you need in order to really get in-depth into practice. It's good for someone who has absolutely no knowledge of Green Witchcraft whatsoever. Will get a lot out of this book, because if you're starting from scratch, then this is a good book to start with. But eventually you will be moving on to other books. So overall, yeah, I mean, I'd recommend it. I would like to hear other people's thoughts on it. I know that book reviews aren't really the focus of my channel, but in this particular instance, it being a Green Witchcraft book, I kind of felt compelled to share. I know that I have a lot of other Green Witchcraft books, most of which are older. Like I said, I don't usually buy new books, but I have a whole bunch of used books. And I'm more than happy to share my perspectives. If you guys enjoyed this, just let me know. If you feel like there are other books that you want me to look into, I'd be more than happy to do that. Or if you want me to just get right back into the gardening stuff and forget books about it altogether, I can do that too. So, but either way, I would love to hear back from you. So I hope that you at least got something out of this. I hope that this video finds you well, and I will see you again soon.